بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. It's again my pleasure to be joining all of you on this in this most auspicious month, the most blessed month, and to share some reflections and some thoughts on a specific journeying through the Quran, or journeying through Ramadan with specific reference to the Quran. As we approach the midway mark, as they say, this time really flies. We hope and pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the courage and the strength and the ability to manage all the plans we had. And as we get towards the latter half, those activities will become a little bit more intense, inshallah, so that we can benefit tremendously. So what I wanted to do today is to continue the discussion, but maybe first, just as a reflection, as a reminder, we're going to take a look at this slide, because what I want to emphasize, maybe I didn't get a chance to do that last week, and that is that we see, I want to draw your attention to two particular references that the Prophet ﷺ is reported to have made in regards to hadith pertaining to the Quran. And one of them is that the engagement with the Quran is like a banquet. And so it is Allah's banquet. And we see here that, you know, when we engage with the Quran, regardless of whether it is recitation, studying, listening to it, listening to its interpretation, explanations, and all those features, we see, or memorization even, we see that Allah's banquet, it's that privilege and honor that we have been invited to Allah's banquet to feast on what we can acquire from the Quran. And then the second thing is that reference is made by the Prophet ﷺ to when we engage with the Quran, whether again, you know, whatever channels we use, that it's as if we will be given a crown on the day of resurrection. A crown will be placed on our parents, the parents of such people, as well as, can you imagine what it will be for the person engaged in it? So it is indeed a significant and tremendous honor and privilege that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has inspired our hearts to connect to His book, to His divine revelation, to His divine speech, so to speak. And I just wanted to remind us of this, and inshallah we'll take a look at today's supplication. And then I'll share a little bit of context regarding this supplication. So in Surah Al-Kahf, and we are very familiar with this because many of the believers, they recite Surah Al-Kahf on Fridays, and the Prophet ﷺ had made mention of its benefits, one of them being that one who recites the surah, sometimes in other narrations, the first 10 verses or the last 10 verses even, or memorizing it. Regardless, the Prophet ﷺ pointed to some enormous privilege and honor to acquire the light from Allah, that the light will shine from that person. And in some other narrations, mentions about forgiveness. So the dua here in the middle of the verse, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا مِن لَدُنْكَ رَحْمَةً وَهَيِّئْ لَنَا مِنْ أَمْرِنَا رَشَدًا. And this is the dua of Ashab al-Kahf that is narrated. The story is narrated in Surah Al-Kahf. When the young men took refuge in the cave and then said, "O Lord, give us mercy from your Lord and arrange guidance for us in our affairs." So there are two things being asked in this dua. And last week when we took a look at Rabbana Atina, we saw how comprehensive that dua was. And it's, as the ulama have mentioned, that it's probably the most significant dua in the books of prophetic narrations. And there's valid reasons as to why that is the case. Here is another dua that is wide as well, and we'll shortly take a look at it. But just some background. when we, as we know, the conflict between Quraysh, who stood opposed to the Prophet ﷺ and his message. So finally, they decided in one of their strategies is to send a delegation from amongst them to consult with some Jewish scholars in Medina. And so when the delegation met with those people in Medina, they said, we can help you to determine whether he is indeed a true prophet and whether it is indeed that his message is coming from the Lord Most High. And so the three questions they advised the delegation was to ask about the young men who left their city, the Ashab al-Kahf, what became of them. Then the second was to do with the individual who traveled from to the east and to the west. And that story and that answer was given in the same surah, Dhul Qarnayn. And then they were told to ask about the Ruh. So the first question, the spirit, the first question was to do with the conflict between Ashab al-Kahf and the authority and people at the time who were idol worshippers. And so eventually what happened, these young people left their community, they left their society, and they went to a cave where they spent over 300 years, and Allah kept them alive, and we can get further information from the story. Now, as they entered the cave, this dua was being recited. And it is interesting as we get some perspective as to the contextual nature of this dua to what they're asking. So we have an idea. So as I said, there are two things being asked. The first one is they're asking from Allah's rahmah. Now, what basically is instructive here is this rahmah they're asking for. And when we make this dua, as we recite in the Quran, or we contemplating the Quran, or we've memorized this, or we hear this dua being recited, we can place ourselves to understand what it means, what it entails, what it connotes, and its significance and its impact to our lives, to our day-to-day lives. So even though the dua is made in the words of the Ashab al-Kahf, yet when we read the dua, we're asking Allah for the same thing. And we said last week that Allah is teaching us and instructing us that there are various mechanisms to connect to His book, ultimately to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so when this dua is made, and so the rahmah of Allah, it entails a number of things. So this mercy is overwhelming, and we're asking for Allah's mercy, this widespread mercy, for protection and safety from all kinds of harms, from all kinds of challenges. We to have the courage and the strength to deal with these challenges, to deal with anything that comes our way, whether it's faith-based or whether it's natural occurrences around us, like the situation we have now, which is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the COVID-19 pandemic, to give us the strength and the courage to manage it. The third thing is to give us wisdom and understanding to deal with life's events and responding to these events. To giving us also not only courage and strength, but patience and resiliency to overcome and to emerge out of these challenging situations. And sometimes the situation it could be at a personal level, it could be at a family level, it could be at a communal level. So this patience is a very emphasized quality, and to develop resilience is also an emphasized quality within the believers. And so we are asking Allah's rahmah to shade and cover so that our responses can be within these dimensions. And then obviously to have faith and hope and trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the mercy, when mercy descends, it encompasses our entire lives. So in essence, what it does, it defines who we are. What is our character? So if we're going to rely on Allah's mercy in all these 5 dimensions, then it will dictate who we are really. And indeed we are striving to be the best we can be, the best human experience we can have. how we manage our relationships, how do we conduct ourselves. Today, there are all kinds of different challenges and obstacles, challenges in all kinds of different dimensions. Again, so when the mercy of Allah descend, it will clearly help us to dictate and to understand how to manage relationships as well, be it family, be it husband, wife, be it extended family, be it parents and children. So when we're asking for this rahmah from Allah, and it says min ladunka, from Allah's presence. So this is one of his innate attributes, that of being ar-Rahman and ar-Rahim. And then it also helps us to define for us how we would respond to the challenges that we have around us. And so we require this tremendous mercy, and we should continually ask for it. So then the second thing that is being asked for is divine guidance in all our affairs. And so we always are going to be challenged and tested, and there'll be tribulations to do with any aspect of daily living. And that's why we're calling upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this dua. So as we connect to the Quran, and as we connect to this dua, we're actually in essence connecting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so the divine guidance in all our affairs has to do with our faith, with our very faith, which is daily challenged. And we're seeing it all the time. All kinds of news items, all kinds of theological and theoretical challenges to question our faith, to question the validity of our faith. Again, as I said, divine guidance in our families, in our relationships, and whatever we're doing, our study, our work, our business, our communities, if we're providing service. There are all kinds of things that we do, and we asking Allah to provide His divine guidance in all aspects, and give us the clarity. As I said, it brings about, on the left-hand side of the slide, clarity. It brings about clarity and correctness in our intentions and our thoughts, clarity and correctness in our states. Are we in a state of patience? Are we in a state of gratitude? Are we in a state of thankfulness? Are we in a state of contemplation? And then also clarity and correctness in the decisions that we make, in the actions we undertake, in how we respond to issues, how we respond to these challenges and trials. And so we can see the comprehensive nature of this dua. And the idea here is to bring us around to the point and to the notion that ultimately, as we live, as we experience life as human beings, we cannot suffice. We are not independently sufficient to manage things, and we need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's intervention. And so, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا مِن لَدُنْكَ رَحْمَةً وَهَيِّئْ لَنَا مِنْ أَمْرِنَا رَشَدًا. And this is the dua that every one of us should memorize, should contemplate, should reflect upon. And we hope that just by sharing these few reflections and thoughts, we can see here how the dua is instrumental in providing for us an opportunity to really elevate ourselves during this month of Ramadan. As I said, we're pointing to the reflections in the Quran. It is one mechanism, it is one strategy that Allah has indicated to us in the Quran, and it is the 40 Rabbanas that have been compiled. And so we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to inspire our hearts, to purify our hearts, to awaken our hearts to the realization that the Quran is the marvelous revelation. It is the miraculous or the most miraculous aspect of the prophetic experience and the prophetic life and the prophetic teachings. And it is, as we have heard it, I'm sure, from other presenters. And so these are just small features within the Quranic experience as we engage. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to strengthen us as we go into the latter half of Ramadan, to give us that, we call it the in us, to really pull from within us uh, that what it would take to manage it. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless all of you, bless all the people who are involved with the program and putting this program together, and a lot of hard work behind the scenes. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept it from all of them, and to inspire all of you, and to help all of us, inshallah. Wa akhir da'wan alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.